Hitting your financial ceiling. Hello, 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 and welcome. My name is Sabrina Victoria. I am here with Jeannie, and we're going to be talking all about how to stop hitting your financial ceiling. I know the ladies are going to love talking about this. So I'm super excited about this. Jeannie is here to offer some insights, some inspiration. We're going to be talking not only about our personal growth, but obviously our professional growth. So let's jump in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We are here every day delving deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed over 600 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Jeannie Dougherty, money expert and mental fitness guide for professionals that want a career change without going into debt. She also helps entrepreneurs that need a vital cash infusion. Girl, I love the sound of that. For stable, consistent income. So excited to have you here, girl. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I just had a conversation with Kelly Lynn Adams, and she's like, "You're going to be on Sabrina Victoria's show," and I said, "Yeah, I got on." And she's like, "Oh, that's so awesome."
Let's roll.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm so excited to have you here. And money is one of my favorite topics. And the reason why is because I feel like it is something that being in the world of entrepreneurship, I feel like it is a topic that we don't talk about enough, yet it is needed the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're all kind of like sitting in this silent slump of like, not all of us, sitting in this silent slump of no money, but then not being able to talk about no money, because how do you even talk about it if you're supposed to be like a successful business owner? So it's like this weird dynamic.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. The sort of the weird how the inside doesn't match the outside kind of conversation that we all have, I think. It's a weird place to be. Some people are fantastic manifestors, and if they just think about something, it comes their way. Congratulations to them. But for the rest of us, it's, like it's work. And a lot of times it's looking at the things that you don't want to do in your business is probably a good place to start to see why you're not making the money.
The things you emphasis, the things that you don't want to be doing are the things that you should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you talk a lot about the money brain. I'd like to just jump into that. I've heard this a couple times just in my podcasting career, but I've never really dove into that. What is your money brain?
So just to simplify it for everybody, if you go to a neurologist and say, "Can you talk to me about my money brain?" They're going to be like, "What?" Because it's not an identified scientific area for exploration for a neurologist. They're more concerned about other really important features like that you can eat, walk, and talk. But
that would be actually kind of funny if we were in science class and just like open up your science book and it's got the brain.
Yeah.
And it's just like all the different kinds. And then it's just right here, money brain.
Well, you're actually pretty close. The pleasure center is right about there. And sometimes money can activate it. But just, FYI, your entire brain works when you're working with money. But the way I talk about rewiring our money brain is that most of the time on the left side of our brain, we learn money as out of a place of survival first. So it's data, it's the logic, it's about survival, it's about stress, it's about anxiety. And if you're a person who's like into your ancestors and, what are family patterns, those are always passed down. That is how we understand money. So when you're like, I don't understand like when my uncle was able to make money, but my brother wasn't, or something like that. And it's like, well, some people carry that stuff with them. And then they have a lot of maybe good fortune and luck, and they were able to kind of keep it going and keep it moving, or they, just worked and didn't have a lot of expenses because that was also part of the left side of their brain. But the truth is that, life is incredibly fluid, unexpected, and we need that right side of our brain to actually grow our money and be able to keep it consistent if we want to go in a direction that means like, oh, I don't know, buying a home. It might mean upscaling your business. It might be that you're going to take on different clients. It might be that you're going to start another business. Why not, right? It might be that you're going to slow down for 6 months because you've got too many priorities right now, but your business will be fine. It may be that you're going to sell your business and have to do something else with your life, but not fall apart, as some people do, because they're like, now what am I supposed to do with my life? Yeah, retirement wasn't meant for you, huh?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on. So I wrote down left side
Yes.
is survival, logic, stress, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said right side.
Right side is about the empathy. It's towards ourselves, towards others, towards a situation. And one of the things I kept noticing during the pandemic, if you even want to call it that, because some people don't believe it was a pandemic, but that they didn't feel like they didn't need to have any empathy for somebody who, any part of the world that had an issue, like maybe they didn't have masks, maybe they couldn't get vaccinated, different country, different issues. So, and I found that always very interesting when people don't have that, because it does impact how they're going to use their money when you don't have the empathy. You think only of yourself, which is part of your money psychology, which is also the left side of the brain, because that's what you've been taught. Screw everybody else. It's me first.
Yeah.
That's a terrible money psychology to be dealing with. And if you're anybody else walking up to them or trying to, maybe start a business with them, or just even in your own family.
Yeah. So I have a question. So I predominantly have a money lack story, right?
Yeah.
That would be my left side, survival, logic, stress, and anxiety.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. However, what about somebody who maybe has never had, like I've got a few friends who just don't even get it. They have no empathy towards it because they don't even get, like, what do you mean digging in the couch cushions for 25 cents? Like, I don't even understand. What are you even talking about?
Right.
Does that mean that they don't have that part?
No, what it means is that their money psychology has maybe been wired differently. And that is that they are in a place that they have to always be taken care of. So if you were talking about people who've never had that experience, if your family's been well-to-do or well-to-do enough that they don't struggle, they're like, God, we can buy anything we want. We can do this, we can do that. And many times, particularly daughters, are told that you will marry somebody who will take care of you. Because you don't have, maybe other skills or things like that. So there was a time, remember, that ladies were expected to, remember the debutantes? Those were like, what, 15, 16, maybe 20 at most, that they were shown off to society so they could hurry up and be married by wealthy young men, who then probably had to worry about, how to spend the money and how to save it, because money goes quick.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting what you're saying here as far as the left side and the right side. Now, how does somebody actually start to harness and use this information to make money?
So one of the big questions I love to ask all my clients is, who is speaking? And because a lot of times we assume it's ourselves, but it's usually a memory, or it's a previous experience, or it's a thought that we are repeating. Because whatever we have thought or said to ourselves, we will speak it out loud eventually. It's a confession. Sorry.
Okay. So you're saying that if I'm sitting around in a money lack story,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily my story. It's a story that's been handed down.
Could be handed down, or it could be, like the 25 cents in the cushion is something that you vividly, remember. Exactly what this is like. And, you are in a place of like, I don't ever want to go back there. So here's like a really funny thing about our brains. If we keep going back to a past memory and try to make it present, it's going to have to happen again. You're going to have to go through this feeling until you find a different way. And that's why I think it's so fascinating that the fear of lack is actually worse than not having anything. Because there's people out there on this planet that don't have a lot, but they're not for want. They're happy. They're doing what they want to do with their life. Could it be a little better? Sure. But they're not for want. Like, they're like, oh, life is okay. I'm doing this. What I think is that people are trying to figure out how to have it all, and they don't know where to start. What's the first thing to do? Every time I've talked to people who have jobs and even work for like government agencies, even at the Fed level, are like, you have no idea. Like, we're barely just getting by. And it's like, are you the one trying to feed a lot of people in your family? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, so right there, that's a resource constraint. No matter, I mean, even if you made, I don't know, I think what's the last I heard is the top, government salaries around 250,000 a year, which sounds like tons of money, but not if you've got a lot of expenses and people you have to take care of.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying as far as fear of lack. Fear of lack is the worst. This kind of reminds me of what they say about anxiety. It's not the anxiety attack that's the worst.
Right.
It's the fear of the anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the fear of the anxiety attack is actually what brings on the anxiety.
Right. Right. So what I always encourage people to do when they work with me is like, first of all, is there something that you need to be doing with your money? So that's like usually the thing that's like driving you. Like, I need to go pay bills. I don't know how to pay them. I need to do this. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Well, let's look at, first things. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the numbers first. Let's look at what you have for decision making. And then let's see what you might need to do, which could be a lot of things. For some people, it is asking for some financial help or support from family members or somebody else, depending on what it is. Other times it's cutting back. Other times it's going like, no. Like I mentioned, the thing that you need to do in your business, how many sales conversations are you having in a week? If you are self-employed. Yeah, if you are self-employed. If you want to talk to people, because I meet so many people who end up getting a business because they tell me that they're very sensitive and that they've got a lot going on. They're big time nurturers. So 40 hours a week at a job is pretty exhausting for them because they feel like there's not a lot of boundaries, and that's a whole different conversation. But when you're like, okay, but when you're starting a business, if you don't talk to people online, that's fine. You don't have to. You never actually have to, but you're going to have to talk to people offline. And then if your answer is like, but I don't want to really talk to anybody, then it's like, then do you want to sell a product that you don't have to really talk to a lot of people? But if you're going to do service, you're going to have to talk to people. And you have to make that distinction for yourself. That's why some people are not cut out for running a business, and they're probably not cut out running or going to work, too consistently. That's why they've got like this weird, every 7 months you're leaving your job. Yeah. Well,
I know some of these people.
Yeah. And some of them are wealthy enough that they don't have to work, but most of them no. And that's just, again, their money psychology is wired towards what I'd say a higher risk. Oh, I'll just get another job. I'll just do this. And a lot of times they get jobs that aren't going to pay them enough anyway. So, but they don't, that's something that they worry about. And that's probably not the people listening to the show anyway, but we probably know somebody who's been like this. And we've been like, do you not know what it's like to take care of yourself? Do you not know what it's like to make sure you get all the bills paid? Or, find out by, I don't know, second weekend to your month that if it's not going the way you expected, ask for help, like get the coach or find something you need to do, or, ask somebody for, I don't know, extra work, something. And I find that can really shift the whole lack conversation, because then you're moving from a place of powerlessness to, oh, I do have some choices. I could do this and I could move forward.
Yeah. Some of that also of what you're talking about reminds me of just individuals who always have somebody to lean on. Like they always know they can call their parents.
Yeah.
If something happens. So kind of that risk thing that you were talking about, they live more so on that side because they know that if like just shit just hit the fan, that they could totally call up their mom and dad or whoever, brother.
Right.
And get saved.
Yeah. And again, this isn't bad in families. I'm not like here to vilify anybody who's got a great family that will take care of you, because I feel like that sometimes becomes an issue. People feel really guilty if somebody steps in and helps them out. I'm like, no, that's normal. But if the message is because you can't take care of yourself, then that's not normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and I just want to take a moment here, and I want to shine a light on you, because I did comment on your post on LinkedIn, and I was absolutely floored, and I was like, I so appreciated that I could see you and feel you so much better, because again, we have these weird disconnects. Oh, this person's amazing and they're perfect and everything went their way, and you're like, no, I got pregnant at 20 and my life kind of went upside down, and you made a series of choices to have, you know, a son.
Yeah.
And that was your life. And I was just like, yes, this is kind of what it looks like being an entrepreneur. You might start off like with not much, and you got to go forward.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to make hard choices.
Yeah.
I was just having a conversation with somebody today
Mm-hmm.
who I went out to lunch with, and was talking about, you know, a certain part of my life and how there was a time where I had to sit down when money was hard, and I had to, instead of it being like, I have to make money, like I have to make money, almost lack, almost negative.
Yeah.
And then the other side being like, just give up, just like die, basically become a drug addict and just drink alcohol all day and just numb out, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
things that we could always choose. Like we're always, I think all humans are always just right on the cusp of just doing just something really stupid and just like ending up jumping off a bridge or something, like just like one choice away from that.
Yeah.
But basically what I was talking about is I stopped like putting so much negativity on the money part of like, I have to. Not saying that I haven't been in that mindset throughout my life,
Yeah.
but I kind of changed it to, I want to be able to make choices.
Yes.
So instead of it being like, oh, I have to, instead it was, let's do this so that I can at some point start to make choices for myself, versus like, what do I have to do? It could start to become, what do I want to do?
Right.
And it isn't literally until probably 2024 when I finally am starting to step into, what do I want to do?
There you
Because
go.
so much of my life, so much of my life has been, what do I need to do? So working as hard as I worked, not for the need, but
Right.
to be able to eventually have the want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it kind
Yes.
of made it lighter. It kind of made it like less heavy
Yeah, I mean,
on
that's
me.
all about navigation, which is on the right side of the brain. That's what it's scientifically called, navigation. Look at you, navigation woman. It's navigation. When you're able to go, should I do A or should I do B? Or could I do C or D? That is going like, okay, I have choices, as you said. And again, a lot of times people are in paralysis on the left side of the brain because they don't know how to get to a freaking right side of the brain. They don't know how to do that. Like, how do I make it a choice instead of this data? Oh my God, it's going to kill us. We'll never make any money. We'll never have anything. And it's like, that's not true. That is not true.
So I want to ask then the question that probably, by the way, we have a ton of people watching live. So thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us. If you are watching us on the replay, by the way, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. But I feel as if a lot of individuals right now are thinking to themselves like, okay, cool. I'm hearing everything that Jeannie's saying. I got it.
Yeah.
But what stops us from making more money?
So what stops us from making more money, you almost partially answered it, and that is you make it so hard on yourself. You make it like, I have to. So again, who is speaking? It is the left side of your brain who's like, I'm going to be ambitious. I'm going to do this. Instead of the right side of your brain is, why don't I have some fun and maybe talk to 10% more people through the month and see what happens? Oh my God, you could maybe hit a money goal that you've never seen before. Because that's how you do it. You look at your data and then you go, okay, so what could I possibly do a little bit more of? Because the people who are amazing at goal crushing, it's done on like incremental percentages. That's how they get it done. Like, to me, I look at my business for 2025. I'm like, I want to get 10% better at my social media. I want to get 10% better at my emails. That's it. That's all I want to do. I'm not trying to make it 100%. That's crazy. I can't.
I actually just saw maybe like a couple months ago a video of some sort on this where they broke it down to like, most sales offices run off of wanting to do better like by like 20% or something than they did the year before. And it's like this big, huge number of like 20%. And then when they put the total of like whatever that money is, it's actually quite a bit more money.
Yeah.
And they said, instead of taking like that 20% and making it like the number jump at the end, the money number jump at the end, instead break that 20% into like 2 to 5% and add the energy to exactly what you said, to get 2 to 5% better in your emails.
Yeah.
Talk to 2 to 5% more people, DM 2 to 5%. And if you can get 20 across, then that 20% at the dollar amount will just automatically arrive.
There you go.
Isn't that so good?
It is good, but notice that somebody who's thinking, look at how much energy do I have in the day? How much time do I have in the day? How much like real oomph do I feel like I want it? Because I guarantee you there are people on this planet who wake up on Mondays and who wake up on Fridays and other days of the week and they go, I don't want to work. I don't want to work. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you can still pick up the slack on days that you know that you can, or, adjust yourself in some way. That if you're going to have I don't want to work days, then what else is driving you to go to work in the first place? Because it is a choice to do this. It is a choice to work. It is a choice to get better. It's, if you're just going to like, well, I checked my horoscope and it's not going to be a good day. Okay, fine. You can stay in bed, but you have responsibilities too. And I can tell you, no mortgage company, no utility company cares that you read your horoscope and it wasn't a good day. They don't care. Even if you have a job, they don't care.
I love that you're saying this and I'm not saying this. This is just great.
Well, but it gets down to service versus product. How much time and energy do you want to talk to people? Do you not want to talk to people? Do you want to, okay, so this is one of the big things that I often share with people. Do you just want a contract? Meaning you just want to work for one, maybe two people, and you do specific duties and you have some free time on how you get it done. And then as long as the work gets done, you're fine. Or you clock in your hours if you're paid hourly, whatever it is, and then you're done. And that's very different work. That's a different mindset. That's not business. That's a contract. And that's where I see a lot of people are like, oh, I just wanted a contract. Yeah, you're going to have to figure out your own benefits and your own 401k. Oh my God, that's a lot of work. Okay, then maybe get a job. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, it's not for everybody,
No.
for sure. Yeah, it seems like they market entrepreneurship or owning a business as this amazing thing where you get to make your own hours and do your own thing and sleep
you won't have to work that hard ever again. You won't be, putting in the sweat, at all ever. It'll just be like, it'll just grow. There's a template you got off of Facebook group. You're going to make $60,000 in the next 3 days. And it's like, maybe, but unlikely.
Yeah. I like that you're saying maybe, because for a small percentage somehow.
Yeah. I mean, again, like the people I found who did really well, like in the early 2000s, was that they were really good at talking to people on the internet already. They enjoyed it. They shared enough about their life that people could understand it, who they were, what they did. If they had a new idea, they had a lot of cheerleaders. So it worked for them. They built a list without trying to build a list. They were just talking to people on the internet. They were loving it. And then things started to change. The algorithm changed. We changed with social media. It was no longer like a fun thing to do. It was something that now is, for a business. Yeah, you got to think about what you want to say and what you want to do, how much time and energy you want to talk to new people, or hire somebody to do that, or, or get off social media if you hate it. Then don't be on it. Just, whatever, do something else. Again, there are people out there that have 7-figure businesses, have never been on social media, do not have a website, but man, they got a contact list that you would die for because they go to all the meetings. They know the right people.
Yeah. What's your thought process? I know that you work with individuals who are coming out of corporate, going into entrepreneurship, and then also those that are in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
What is your thought process as far as starting before they quit, like starting the side hustle?
Oh yeah.
Versus just, because so many people just like, they're just like, F you, they quit. And then they're,
Yeah. I mean, again, some people act like, oh, it's totally fine to fail in your last 4 businesses and start another one. Like, okay, Gordon Ramsay, I can't wait, Yeah, what I encourage people to do, if you want to start something like a side hustle, again, be very strategic. How much time is it going to take you to do just the side hustle itself? And then are you wanting to see it grow, or you want to do something different? Because the people who don't mind working, I mean, I've met people who've made 7 figures and they started out by themselves working on Fiverr because they were good with tasks. They were task masters. They loved it. And then they realized that they had so many tasks, they could hire somebody. And then they hired 10 more. And then they suddenly had a huge business. And now that's all based on Fiverr work. And they work with people who want a contract, who don't really want a full-time job, but they love tasks. So that's like a great way to look at it. Like, well, what do you like to do? Because like, if you're like, I just want to travel the world and, read poetry and do my art. I'm like, great. Do you want to work for a travel agency? Do you want to, work for the hotel industry? Are you willing to wait tables? I don't even know if you can in some of these countries, but is that what you want to do? Because I'm telling you, this digital nomad's one of the biggest snow jobs I've ever heard of in my life. People go to these other countries thinking they're just going to be sitting there drinking their lattes and on their laptops, occasionally responding to some emails, and the money comes in. It's like, no, these people are working harder because they're working in different time zones. They find out some of the locals don't like them at all because they're just pests. They drive up the rents, but they don't contribute to the society. And, people suddenly are like, I thought I would just be able to go to this country and that country. And it's like, yeah, sometimes travel doesn't work out, or, the relationship you're with doesn't work out as you're doing this digital nomad thing, because you suddenly are either like around each other 24/7, and you had a life where you had a little more balance, when you were dating somebody. So there's a lot there. Again, digital nomads, I think, are great if they're just going to do it for 3 months. Great. That's awesome. But that's usually not the plan. And then people are like, I'm really good at getting coffee for people for meetings. I'm like, then go work in a coffee shop. Figure out your next move then. It's just funny to me that people are like, just have like this not all people, not all women, but there are people out there that have like a dream of like extended Instagram flow of luxury and it's like, don't you know that they rented a house? All of this is staged. They had to hire people to do that. This cost them a lot of money, and they're going to run it and get millions of views. Maybe they'll break even. Yeah. Just from that video. Yeah. And they're like, what? Because people who are independently wealthy are not filming in their house that often. They might have a room or a particular place, but they're not doing it that often. They don't want people to know where they live, what they do. They don't.
Yes. Yes to everything you are saying. I love that. Mm-hmm. As far as partnerships goes, what's your thought process on partnerships, and how does that work as far as the money brain? You have 2 money brains.
Yeah, well, you only have one, but you have 2 sides that you either learn to fix.
No, I mean 2 people.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, 2 people, 2 money brains. Well, here's an insider secret. You often partner with somebody who's the opposite of your money brain. Not always, but you often do, or be in really specific areas. So again, you may be really easygoing with your money, you have plenty of money, and you marry somebody that's like, if we don't have $100,000 in cash in the bank, I think we're going to die.
That's me.
Okay. So, and that's not bad. That's not a bad thought, but there's a lot of people out there that like, if I can't get my hands on cash, we're screwed. Yeah. Because they know what it's like to have all your credit cards and there's nothing, right? And then the other person's like, shouldn't we be investing that? Because even millionaires don't have a lot of cash hanging around. Like they have it they're moving the money around the planet like we all do. So that's one thing, but it often comes down to kids. Like, how do you raise them? How much money do you teach them the value of hard work? Like a lot of single moms do a great job with like, hey, we're going to go, clean this up together, or, hey, this. And so then they just do it. And then I've met, dual family, incomes, and like, they have basically a support person for everything. Like they've got a maid, not bad, but the kids never learn to clean up anything.
Totally.
Anything. They don't know how to do their laundry. No clue. No idea how to clean the room, clean a shower, clean a toilet. They don't know how to mow a lawn. They don't know how to like sweep up, like nothing. They're just like, what? And you're like, yeah. And the parents oftentimes come from like really like a place of lack, and they're thinking they're helping their kids by giving them like this, stressless childhood because it's a lot, you know, they're neurodivergent, and I'm not saying parenting is easy, and I'm not saying if you're neurodivergent it's easy to get any chores done, but got to figure out a system so people can be self-sufficient enough.
Totally.
Or if they're going to need assistance, okay, but at least you know what it is, instead of just like trying to like constantly baby people. And that's a money brain issue, particularly parents who do that, because they're like, I don't have any time to show you how to make your bed, so I'll just do it for you right now. I'm like, well, they could have made it, might not have been perfect, but it would have been fine.
Yeah. I feel like that also goes hand in hand with even hiring in business, hiring help, hiring VAs.
Yeah, well, and it's amazing to me that when people get into partnerships, this is a big time money thing that happens. You might have somebody who's incredibly creative, incredibly awesome at calling in clients. Like they're just great at sales. I mean, like they were born to do it. They love it. And they just, you know, they're great at the energy of holding a container of enthusiasm, but they're not good at what? Operations. They don't know how much stuff really costs. They just say yes. And so hopefully they are either partnered in business with a fair and equitable business manager, or, you know, sometimes it's a spouse, or the spouse is both. But one of the things that always surprised me, I think we've all heard of Billy Joel. He's a bit of a superstar guy. Anyway, but he's a musician, and I think it was his first wife, maybe second. I give up. I don't know which wife it was, but it was before Christy Brinkley. And, you know, he married her, and she was the light of his life, and life was good as far as I know. But it was her brother that offered to manage his money, stole from him. Millions.
Her brother?
Yeah. 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 And, you know, I mean, like, you can't fix that kind of stuff later except through the courts. Then you got to go to court, and then it was millions. And that's what I mean. Like, if you're great at, like, this guy can write, like Billy Joel can write us a song right now if he had to. Not that he would, but he could certainly sing us the song. Great. And he'd be happy to do that, even for free. But the whole point of a business manager is to make sure that he's not doing so much stuff for free, that he's actually getting paid for it, and good things like that.
Wow.
So that's a big problem. Like, even though they're divorced now, but what's his name? Hugh Jackman, he was married to his wife, Deborah Lee Furness, and she was his business manager. And as far as I know, I mean, heck no, I was not involved in their divorce, but they were pretty equitable. Like, she took care of his career. Like, he always got paid, but he was, again, like this guy who was like, yes, of course, let's do it, no problem. And she'd be like, on the back end, let's make sure he gets paid for this, he gets paid for that. And, you know, if he's going to do, you know, a theater production, he's got to do a movie because we have kids, and he would do it. And he'd be like, okay, let's do it. So that to me was, I think somebody was eyeing the bills and like the financial future. And there was a lot of jokes in the Wolverine movie about, like, you know, he was running out of cash. He got divorced. He had to do another movie. So, I mean, like, I was like, yeah, I get that. Like, I thought that was, I don't know if it was true, but I thought that was perfect. You know, like, yeah, he probably did need more cash. He wasn't complaining.
Did you watch the recent one?
Yeah, I did. I laughed really hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only scene that was slightly disturbing to me was the van scene, where they're just like,
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Halfway through, I'm just like over it. I'm like, dude, this is insane. But that movie was so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
Totally appreciated it.
Yeah. And talk about the lack in Wade Robinson and with Logan. I mean, those characters were both like, I barely can make rent, but I'm really good at what I do.
Totally. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Good way to turn it around there.
Yeah. I mean, not much else can be said about the van scene. It's already been done.
Yeah. So gross. I was just so grossed out.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. I so appreciate you hanging out with us. I would love for you to talk a little bit, as we're kind of closing up here, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about who you help, who should be reaching out to you.
Sure. So what I love is, like you mentioned, somebody who's got an exit plan. You know, they're going to basically be like, I'm going to leave this corporate job before they hopefully, you know, don't fire me, but I'm going to try to leave this corporate job. And the reason why it's great to see me before even a career coach sometimes, not in all cases, but before a career coach, is that if you are not stuck in a place of lack, then you'll have a better chance to access your passion or whatever it is that you really want to do. And you'll have a better understanding of your risk tolerance. So you'll know how much money you may want to make or how much you're going to need to make. Because what people really seem to want, again, is like, I just want to make, let's say you make $100,000 a year. And you're like, I want to do that immediately in my business. And I'm like, maybe. Depends on the business.
Yeah.
You know? And I also think I'm really good when people are, entrepreneurs, but they're going through maybe a situation. So it's not about the business and the sales, meaning they pretty much know how to do business and sales. That's not the issue. The issue is that they might be going through a divorce. They may be having a sick family member. They might even have had a death recently in the family. And believe it or not, that really sabotages your money brain, because I've met people who go to therapy, but their whole business tanks, or their whole thing just doesn't work for them. And it's like, yeah, that has to be fixed and rewired differently. You can still see your therapist, but this is a different process. This is to help you rebuild and recommit to other things in your life so that you're not just so far behind and wondering why everyone's speeding ahead of you, because that's very painful. And I say this often, but working with me is at least 50 to 75% more affordable than your divorce or dissolving your business. So it's definitely worth its money. And I've worked with people who are just amazing human beings, kind-hearted, and they're like, oh, I can still keep going. And then I've worked with people who are like numbers. And you're like, let's work on your empathy and your compassion towards yourself so that you're not so hard on you. And then they're like, make more money because they're so happy.
I freaking love that.
Yeah.
So, men, women, both?
Yes. I work with all genders, as I say.
Awesome. Very cool. And where can people find you?
They can find me at JeannieDougherty.com and my other website, which is globalmoneycoach.com. So
awesome. And where are you on social media if somebody wanted to follow your content?
Oh, LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. So
under your name?
Yes. Yes. I think Instagram is I am Jeannie Dougherty. So I think there was some other how dare there was some fraud calling themselves Jeannie Dougherty. So I was like, well, I will be I am.
That works.
Yeah, it does.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been phenomenal. I so appreciate you hanging out with us, sharing so much awesomeness. For those of you watching live, thank you so much for being here until the very end. For those of you watching on the replay, same thing. Make sure you follow, like, and share. And if you're resonating with all the goodness that Jeannie shared today, make sure to check out her website, JeannieDougherty.com. It is in a clickable link in the description wherever you are watching us at. And it sounds as if she hangs out the most on LinkedIn and then Facebook and Insta. So thank you so much for being here, lady. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
Yeah. If you want financial freedom, you've got to know how to make your money work for you. And that's what I do with my clients.
Dude, great closing line.
Thank you.
I feel like she practiced that.
No, it just came out.
Wow. That means you know your stuff.
Thank you.
It's great. That's why we got to practice. Because then it flows out like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody who is here listening. Thank you, Jeannie. So appreciate it. Sharing your wisdom, inspiring us. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to have conversations just like this one to help you out every step of the way.